evening, everybody. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Let's Connect webinar series. My name is Towela Mokosa, and I shall be your host this evening. We're so glad that you could join us today. We really appreciate it. You could have been watching another TV or watching a show on Netflix, but you chose to join us. So we're very grateful that you joined us today. Just a little housekeeping. Please post all your questions in the Q&A section. If you've got a comment or would like to share some insight, you're more than welcome to post a comment in the chat. Also, as you're coming in, please tell us where you're watching from. Just write in the chat your name and where you're watching from. Would really appreciate it. We're streaming live to YouTube. And also, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Ladybug Consulting and Biotechnologies Africa. So before I introduce our lovely panelists this evening, I just want to touch a little bit on what it's all about. So Let's Connect, from Cape to Cairo, we all experience some challenges and some opportunities in the workplace. This series, which happens on the first Wednesday of every month, 6 to 7 p.m. Central African time, 5 to p.m. North African time, was actually created to help professionals from around the globe to successfully navigate the corporate landscape. Each month, we invite guests to our panel discussion where we learn and share insights and nuggets from each other. The main goal of the series is actually to just provide a safe platform where we get to connect by talking and engaging on matters that will help you as attendees advance in your career and also help you navigate the workplace dynamics. This month, we are very grateful and fortunate to have the phenomenal Maanda Tshifularo joining us as a panelist. Welcome, Maanda. What can I say about Maanda? Maanda is a leader. He's an innovator. He's a strategist, a sports enthusiast. And my personal favorite, he's a podcaster. So without any ado, I'd just like Maanda to please introduce himself. Maanda, over to you.
Excellent. So thank you so much. It's a great honor for me to be a guest today. I feel like an underdog in this panel. So really privileged to be part of the team. Very briefly, my name is Maanda Tshifularo. I'm a CEO and co-founder at SuperLead Advisory. Really passionate about advancing leadership excellence across the continent. I lecture part-time at Gibbs, and I do quite a number of sporting events, as you highlighted already. And I'm a father to 2 boys, one 6, another one 3, and married to Beverly. Until recently, I was head of Dial Direct Insurance. Before that, I was head of operations at One Life. And before that, I was an operations executive at Discovery Health. I'm a chemical engineer by training. I've worked in consulting, including Deloitte, McKinsey, and I've also worked at MTN. Somehow, in 2019, they sort of chose me to be one of the top 200 young South Africans by Mail and Guardian. And by some, and similarly, JCI also selected me to be one of the top 10 young South Africans. Yeah, I think that's a bit about me. I'm really amped about this conversation. Really amped.
And there you have it. We're talking networks. Who better else to tell us how to expand and grow their network than Maanda Tshifularo? Meeting our next connector on our panelists all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, Shola. Shola, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Sorry about my spotty internet, so hopefully I get through this without internet issues. But my name is Shola. Nigeria, but some people call me Shola, some people call me SB. So yeah, more people know, but very few people call me Shola. But yeah, I'm an aviation enthusiast turned power utility enthusiast. I work in a company called Biathan. It's a power utility space. Is in the power utility space. If anybody knows anything about Nigeria, it's our struggle with the power service in the country. So with the Biathan, I do my part in helping, or well, trying to help improve our power situation in the country, one day at a time. I'm passionate about infrastructural development, and I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. And I'm very excited about this conversation. I hope everyone takes away something great out of it.
Awesome. Our next connector is Kanye. We call her Coach Kanye. Kanye, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I hope you are well this evening. I see so many people on. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kanye Mdluli. I am the kind of person who builds dreams, as you all know. I'm in construction, 9 to 5, and then the rest of the time I'm coaching the purpose-driven stuff that I love to do. I run a recruitment and coaching agency where we focus on leadership and career coaching. My experience is extensive across management consulting, across HR, across operations, and now across construction. So I possess a wealth of experience in very many organizations, including McKinsey, as well as Discovery. So you can imagine where Maanda and I may have met, one of those places. And my background, you guys know this. I have an MBA and a postgrad. I don't really like to talk about it because it really doesn't matter anymore. Now it's about bringing value to your lives.
Great. Thanks, Kanye. Thanks for that. And last but not least is myself, Tshifularo Mokosa. I am the CEO for Biotechnologies Africa, an IT and consulting firm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I like to call myself a digital evangelist. I help my clients enhance their performance by leveraging off digital solutions. I'm a mom of 3 and I'm married. And one of my pastimes, Maanda, is golf. So I hope to catch you on the course one of these days. Anyway, our topic today is expanding and leveraging your network for career advancement. Now, what I've found is that a lot of people seem to have their own definition of what a network is. So I think maybe just to start the conversation and set the scene, I would like maybe for the panelists in their own words to define what a network means to them. My definition of what a network is being able to build a relationship with people, a long-term relationship that is mutually beneficial. I believe that the people in my network are people that I personally can add value to them, and they can add value to me. And that those are the kind of relationships that I try to build, especially as I'm trying to build a business. And certainly when I was also in corporate, when I was trying to grow in my career. So maybe I would like to start off with Shola. Shola, could you please maybe define what does building a network mean for you? What is your definition of a network?
Sorry, sorry, my internet is. Sorry, was that for me?
Yes, that's for you. What's your definition of a network?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I think the what first comes to mind is the adage that says it's not what you know, it's who you know. That kind of sets the tone for me for what a network is. But basically, my network is the group of people that I met over my connections and relationships, and people that I've met over the lifetime of my well of my career, or I mean, either basically recognizing that it's people you meet along the way, basically generally, and my network can be up and down, but it's those people that I can help me add value, create, and improve myself. If I can lean on to help me improve myself, to help me open doors, and if, on the flip side, those I can help as well, and those who can lean on me for whatever reason. But yes, that will be my definition of network.
Maanda, what's your definition of building a network?
Thank you. It's hard to follow those two X. So I think for me, really, I don't have like a specific textbook definition. I was teaching earlier, so now I feel like I feel the urge to want to give like a definition in a Potter's 5 forces way. But anywho, so really for me, it's a relational connections. And some of these play different roles in my life. Some played roles in the past, some in the present, some perhaps potentially in the future. And these also have varying strength. Some are weak strength, some are very strong connections that are probably present and we're engaging regularly. Some, we met in 2008, but I can still pick up a phone and say, hey, Shola, how's it going? Really, I need 1, 2, 3. Can you help me? And that's what we call the strength of weak ties. And the other component is that some are bad, right? And some are good. There's people in my connection that are probably no longer good for me, or there was some friction. So there's some stuff that needs to be resolved. So in my understanding, those people form a wide variety of connections, and they're not necessarily all good, but there are those that are truly transformational. And my responsibility in this definition of network is to nurture those, is to grow those, is to strengthen those. And also, I must say, when you're growing up and you're ambitious, sometimes you rub off people the wrong way. Some of my responsibility is to go back and perhaps repair some of really good people that I met in the past, but I think I was just an idiot. So that forms part of my relational connections: good, bad, present, weak, strong, or past.
Wow. Building relationships with people. That's what I've just gotten from both yourself, Maanda, and from Shola. Kanye, what would you like to add to that?
So a couple of thoughts come to mind. I think the critical ones are around cultivating, right? Sometimes it's places you haven't been, but you need to get there. And how do you best get there? And there's this whole concept of 6 degrees of separation, right? You're only 6 people away from whoever it is you need to know. So that's the first thing. You need to cultivate the relationships that if you have your mind focused on your career, what are those relationships that are going to get you there, right? That could be part of a network that you have or need to build. Secondly, I think about the concept of a maven, right? Mm-hmm. I think I stand corrected, guys. I think it's either Jim Collins or it's our pop psychologist, the Outliers. What's his name? Author.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell. Thank you, Maanda.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, thank you, guys. So he talks about mavens, right? And mavens are connectors. They're people who are able to bring together from different places. I mean, I think they used an experiment where they had to get a piece of paper or something from one side of the US to the other. And they found that when they connected all those people, it was literally to the same network of individuals. So mavens for me are part of like such a wonderful concept you need to think about when you think of networks. Who are those people that are going to bring the right people together? And sometimes, like, I'm a budding maven, right? I love that stuff. So I'm working on building and strengthening my network through some of those concepts. But in a nutshell, for me, it's about cultivating the relationships you need to have with an end in mind. I'm very big on, as you guys will know, being deliberate. Like nothing will happen in a vacuum if you don't plan for it. So if you're deliberate about where you need to go, what it's going to take to get you there, then you'll know what network you have or what network you need. And in all likelihood, you're 6 degrees away from them.
Awesome. So with Kanye, I'm hearing lots of cultivating, and how do you cultivate those relationships in order to help you grow in your career or in your business. But just jumping on to what you've just said, Kanye, in my career, I realized that networking was a very important aspect of actually trying to build a career. And it is in those connections that I made where the invaluable opportunities to either exchange ideas, get information, give information, get advice came out of that. So what, and I also want to distinguish between leveraging a network and building a network. So because I think they're different, because I think building is more like a strategy to say, I want to build my network in order for me to grow in my career, to build my business, or, you know, expand my brand. And then leveraging are the little tactics that you use to actually achieve the strategy. So I want to find out from the panelists, what are those tactics or strategies that you've used to build your network? Maanda, I'd like to hear from you.
All right. So I must tell you my story with networking. So one, initially, I just used to hear the word, and I just like, no, it just didn't feel right. It felt like going to a networking event where you go with the business cards and then like you throw them around, and it felt very, for me, it felt very fakey and unauthentic. So there were some small books around how to network, and I just rejected most of those. And I settled, for me, at a place where I realized that to grow, I need to grow and also add value. I need to have connections around me that will help me do that, and I will do the same to others. But they need to connect with the true me, not the guy that's going around with business cards. So my approach has then been to network and connect with people where I am truly myself. And I'm not easily, I'm trying to make this more practical, so I'll use I a lot. So I'm not easily that kind of the person who's going to go and have coffee. I got a lot of energy and just, I don't sit still for too long. So I like to be active, right? So then what do? I run marathons. And what did that do to me? It turns out at 5 a.m. in my area, there's people running. And then as we run and as we talk, you realize this guy is a great guy. We can build something, we can do something. One of my mentors for a long time, Themba Baloyi, he was a founder at Discovery Show and a director there. It turns out I can find him, I know what time he runs, and I can bump into him, and we talk a bit about running, and then I ask a critical sort of career kind of questions, and then he helps me think through some of that stuff. So then it's a whole new world. Then I do cycling. I do long distance cycling. I remember the first day I went to one of my first races with my wife, and we get there, she's like, wait a second, there's a whole new world of people out there with like a ton of bikes. What's going on? So we tapped into a whole new world of cycling. I play golf, and you know, it's a whole new world of people that you meet there. I'm training for Ironman, right? So now there's a whole new triathletes, and it's just an amazing group of people. But they meet me where I am the most alive. They meet the real me. I'm not trying to fake anything. I'm just trying to learn how to swim, and they're there, and like, you know, we're all blowing bubbles together and that type of stuff. So that's one part, and I want to pause with this thought. One golf partner of mine, he's just wise. He says to me, networked people are interesting people, and interesting people are interested people. So if you're keenly interested in a lot of things, either it's news or sports, and interested in other people. So when we meet, say for example, I meet with Shola, you know, I can go 45 minutes without saying a word about me, just listening to her, what's going on in her life. Those are interesting people, and they end up being networked people. And I think that's been the one theme that I've learned for many years. I get in a place and I'm super interested. And the opposite is true. People reach out to me and say, hey, I want to connect, you know, let's have coffee. Then we kind of meet. And then like, we all kind of going, how long is this going to go? We can't talk. Like, you know, we knew each other in high school and we thought we could catch up, but it's just, you know, yeah, and the just interests have gone this way. Anyway, so let me pause there with the thought that says, if you really want to grow in nature and network, you want to be more interested, and that way you become interesting.
I like that. You also mentioned being authentic, being yourself, and when you're take advantage of the places and opportunities that you are, be it if it's your hobby, your sports, or where you find yourself, talk to people, be yourself, be authentic. Shola, I just want to, what strategies have you used in corporate to help you advance in your career, especially when it comes to leveraging off people, maybe to rally around, you're presenting something and you need someone to help you? What are some of those strategies that you've used in the workplace to build a network or allies of people that are on your side?
Yeah, too. So I always thought that the connections or all of those things were luck. The word networking was just chance. So networking to me, all of connecting with people and leveraging that relationship didn't come to me as I didn't define it as networking. But as you grow, as you move up in career, you start to think about how these things came about, and then I figured that it was actually networking. And as Maanda said, I think that's the biggest thing for me, the authenticity. I cannot. Okay, let me not say I cannot, but the best networks I have are people that I can be my authentic self around 100%, and the people that I can be my, first of all, authentic self around, and the people that I have the same values with, or that I see something that I can relate with. So I'm not going to see someone who the CV or the title is super great, and then I'm thinking, oh, it has to make sense to me. I have to find that connection. So connection is important. But strategies is finding that connection. So that's where I was leading up to. Finding that connection and something that we can both align with around, and then using that to build a relationship. And when I say build a relationship, so there are all those things. I think because you said just to corporate, it's a couple of things. There's connecting on common grounds and finding something that I can relate with you with, and something that will always, so someone, a colleague or someone I want to be able to reach out to, being intentional, listening to what they're saying, what they're not saying, and then using that information to find the things that I can use to build a relationship. Once you build a relationship, nurturing that relationship, super, super important. So it's the little things. It's the sending of, I article or something you've said, and I'll go out of my way, or just asking me for something. I will bend over backwards and jump fences just to be able to give that person something. So I'm nurturing, I am watering that that plant, so that where I'm able to have a box of goodwill I'm able to reach out to. So where we're able to connect, that's that connection that helps me build on being able to reach out to people. But yes, let me not go on that. But in the corporate space, it's finding that connection and being able to have that relationship that allows me to have a relationship in and outside of work, and I can leverage as required.
Coach, what's your take on the type of, you're an entrepreneur, and for you it's a little different because now you're building a network to grow your business. So what are some of the strategies that you can give our attendees who are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs themselves? What are some of the things that you've done and has actually worked to build that network?
Yeah, okay, so as extroverted as I can be sometimes, I actually find meeting new people exhausting. I don't know what that is. So I think similarly to Maanda, when you hear the word networking, I'm like, oh my goodness, I now need to make small talk with a stranger until we find a point to connect on, and then we are gonna maybe exchange details, and then I hope you don't hit on me. Oh my goodness, it's a lot, right? So what I found really helpful is, firstly, I show up. So whatever platforms, I'll give you an example. I was on the Growth Point Enterprise Development Program, and it was an 18-month program, and part of that was monthly networking sessions. So without fail, I think I went to, in the 18 months, I probably went to 16 or 17, right? I was like the biggest attendee. And just showing up helped me, one, get engaging, whether it's the same few people that I got comfortable with and we could connect on a whole range of topics, but also the sponsors, also the people who are running the program, also. So I literally broadened my network in small steps without trying to be connecting with everybody. And because that is just, for me personally, it's not possible because it drains me, firstly. So I show up. I try and figure out where people are, who's doing what. And then when the few that I connect with, this is the second strategy, I talk about what I'm thinking. I talk about what I'm doing. I talk about where my future is. Maanda can attest to this. When I called him up to ask him to do the session, we spent a good hour talking about where we're at, where we're going, and that sort of thing. So I do that, right? So I do talk, and people shy away, and then there are different schools of thoughts about it. Don't talk about your dreams. Don't talk about your vision. Be a submarine until, whenever. I don't believe in that. I believe, yes, of course, you want to keep this, strategic stuff close to your heart. But I do believe some things, if you don't talk about them, there's no way anyone could ever connect you, right? So the second most important part for me is have the conversation. And the conversation could start off at whatever point. And yes, it does get awkward. And if it gets awkward, have your tips and tricks around how to exit that sort of conversation and move on to people where you can, focus your efforts and energy. And then thirdly, I spend a lot of time also looking backwards. Who did I connect with before? This is what I'm thinking of doing. How could they be helpful? And if by any means there's something I should be doing, what is it and how do I do it? And I'm not shy, guys. It does sound like I'm introverted, but I'm not shy to be dismissed. I'm not shy to be ignored. I'm not shy. Like, if I don't take the shot, I never know. So I take my shots. And the universe will do what it needs to. And I've also, and Dan actually taught me this. Church. Guys, the network's in church. For those of you who go to church, can you network, please? Can you just also talk about God and talk about business and talk about your career? So those are some of the tips and techniques that I use. And I really am not shy to post things, share things. actually the authentic part Maanda spoke about, I completely agree with. If you're afraid about what people are going to say, you have a long journey ahead of you, because they're going to speak anyway. So I'm really not vested in, you know, who is saying what about what. I'm literally on my own journey, and I'm excited to get to know people, and, you know, I get excitable and I can talk. So talk.
So I like that point, but I just want to tell the attendees, please go to www.menti.com. I've put the code in the chat. It's 2961793. We've got a question that we're asking, and the question is, when you hear the word networking, what's the first word that comes to mind? And as we have the discussion, we will unpack that a little later. But just going back to what Kanye said on the strategies that she said, church is actually a very good place to actually start networking. And also just not being afraid to ask, because I think sometimes we've got, maybe it's an ego or the fear to actually ask for the opportunity. I won't say help, I would say it's an opportunity. But if you're deliberate in your asking and knowing and maybe perfecting the pitch of how to ask, and then the more you do it, the more you practice it, the better it becomes. And also just going back on nurturing those relationships. I'll tell you, in the past month, I've gotten 2 pieces of work that I'm currently doing in my business. And truth be told, the first one was one of my former colleagues that I had worked with maybe in 2018. She had a work anniversary, and I saw it on LinkedIn. And I just sent her a message. I said, congratulations on your work anniversary. And I'm not kidding you, in 3 months, it was 3 weeks later, she called me and said, hey, Toela, are you still doing your digital transformation? And I said, yes. And then she says, there's an opportunity. I'd like to introduce you to somebody. And I think that the whole nurturing is also out of sight, out of mind. So my take also is be visible, be present, keep tabs on your network. That's the whole nurturing and you know, building a rapport with your networks, creating a relationship, and showing up, as what Kanye said. Show up, do good work. People will reference you. They will remember you, and just also remind them about the wonderful work that it is that you do. And then you'll find that that's how you can build your network. Maanda, I know you've got a very vast, big, you know, network. How has that network helped you in your business and also in your career?
That's a big question. So I think largely, so I started off as a chemical engineer, and very quickly I realized that was probably not the path for me. It took someone who was mentoring me to say, wait a second, I think this guy has got, he belongs at management consulting. And I had no idea what that was at the time. And then she said, I'll introduce you to a director at Deloitte. And so I met the guy for coffee. And at the time, you know, I was reading these books, and I was fascinated with reading A Fish to Catch a Mackerel by Raymond Ackerman. And he spoke about the 4 legs of a table. So I'm young and excited about this stuff. We're talking about these things. I mean, the conversation just went forever. He goes, no, you belong to Deloitte. I need to introduce you to the guys. And literally that's how it went. To go to McKinsey was similar. You know, people pulled me. When I was at MTN, I got called to Discovery. When I was at Discovery, I got called to One Life. When I was One Life, was asked to head up Dial Direct. You know, and the work I do now, it's largely people kind of saying, hey, you know, we know you do this kind of work. Can you kind of help us here? So there's a couple of things there in that story. One is people can help you grow, enhance your career, your business, or your impact, right? They can also diminish it. in that story, I didn't mention some of the people that tried to squash my progress and a bunch of other things. We can have another workshop on that and how to sort of like work through that portion. Most of you will probably have had a similar, so you will have stories to tell. I think we need a day for that to unpack those. But anyway, so there was a lot of that. But the thing that's probably has been undervalued is what you bring to the table. In as much as we're talking about growing your connections, you also want to grow your content. When those opportunities come, right? Someone shouldn't be shy to introduce Kanye to their boss, because they know that, you know, Kanye will say the right thing and she's on top of the game. She's the latest and the greatest in construction or something. So the better you are at your craft, the easier it is for your network to grow. So let's not forget that part. And the second part, I think that's key, is that you want to do whatever it takes to add value to the other person. And when you've added value to someone, they tend to pass you on to say, you know, he did this for me. I think he can do the following for you. People in large, they are utility maximizers. If you go to the economics, you know, they want to maximize their own utility. They don't want to bring in another person in their life. For what? But if they know this guy, I will have coffee with him, there's a good chance that it will help me in one way or the other. Well, last thing, as you know, I run a podcast, and I started it about, I don't know, 3 odd years ago or something. We are on 80 episodes at the moment. And what I did really was simply say, I reach out to people, kind of have them share their message. And in the process, I'm connecting with them, right? So I often tell people I'm the biggest beneficiary of the podcast because, one, I meet the person, and the most interesting conversation is the one that starts the moment we switch off the microphone. Then that's like, so let me tell you what actually happened, and then the story goes on for another 2 to 3 hours. Anyway, so I said that people really pulled me up. It helped that I really maximize my content. I'm a student for days, as you can see, the bookshelves and stuff. And this is just me, and I don't say everyone must do the same, but I must have studied post-matric. I must have 7, 8 qualifications post-matric, and I'm still studying, and and then that's just me. I'm a really bit of a bookworm. But the more I study, the more I know, the more there's more to be added, and the more there's content whenever I engage with different people. So there's all of the activities with playing and all of those things that increases my interest, but there is deep content when we sit down to really do work or talk serious stuff that tends to filter through. So there's a content piece, there's a value adding piece, and really there's the part where you create opportunities for others to shine, whether on your own platform or otherwise.
Absolutely. And Shola, I just wanna hear from you on how has your network helped you in your career? Can you give us maybe some examples of how that network has helped you?
Yeah, Maanda is a tough act to follow, but I'll say, because I say that because a lot of what is said resonates, and they're basically the kind of stories that I have, except for the studying bit. But basically, all through my career, it's been people pulling me up, and it's been in that network thing. And I think, before I go into individual examples, I think it's that connection is, so to be able to connect and to be able to connect authentically, it's content. So basically, you have that content that allows you to have sensible conversations with people that they remember. Sorry, guys. Sensible conversations with people that they remember.
Is that load shedding?
Yes, but it's going to come back up in 1 sec. But but basically, I hope you guys can hear me properly. But having conversations with people that they will remember and that that they will come back to, or it just helps them remember you, basically. So that makes you stand out. But as close to Manda's story is throughout my career story, my career journey, it's been those relationships that have pulled me up at every point in my career. So I was in investment banking. I didn't think it was particularly for me, but an opportunity came up, and my boss, someone who I'd had a conversation with in a session, and I think we're talking about projects, and it was football. And and basically, I got my next role from there. It was a secondment, but that's how I got into aviation. I was in aviation. I was happy. The international company that was the shareholders, minority shareholder, an international company, they wanted to start afresh as a separate type of business. And when they were moving, I was the first person they called. So, and it was consultants. I think another bit that I think that that's very, very big on is consultants. I've worked with a lot of consultants in my career. And what I found with consultants is that bit where you're able to connect with them while doing the work, there was a lot of staying in touch after. So you're helping, you're supporting, and they see value. They stay in touch after. And another opportunity, so my next opportunity was from a consultant that I worked with in my role. I think, and so on. And my the role after that was the director, an expatriate director I had worked with and was starting something, and he referred me. But I think the biggest one, or the one that I like to talk about, is also being able, where you're staying connected with people and just letting people know what your status is. And that ties to being able to ask. I left a job I didn't like, and I sent a message on something else. Oh, sorry, I think I'm mixing things. A lot of things are coming back. But I think importantly is how you nurture that relationship. So those little things. Happy New Year. I think the biggest one for me, the best opportunity for reaching out for me was the pandemic. So I was able to reach out to everybody quickly and say, hope you're keeping safe. And people that I didn't want to, are they Christians? Do they celebrate? But when you're not sure about pandemic, it's global. It was easy to reach out to everybody in my network, and people that I've had that relationship with, I've not had the opportunity to reach out to. But yes, I think the biggest one was being able to reach out when you need help. But because I had watered that plant, so I had that bandwidth that allowed me to reach out. So I was not in a job, and I was just chilling, but I needed time to myself. And I sent a message around to my people that, I left this job and I'm just taking time out. I don't want to do much for at least 6 months and see where it takes me. And I got a message like, okay, I know you do not want to work, but I have a project to do. So I got opportunities through all of that. And it was more than I wanted to do. I'm like, I didn't want to work, but basically it's being able to ask in a way that, basically asking the right people and asking the people that you have been able to water and nurture. And so, and not being scared to ask, basically put yourself out there, let people know what you're up to every now and then. I've moved jobs. When I change jobs, I reach out to people. I just wanted you to know, and these are people that I hold highly, and I think that have been instrumental in my career life. So there's been a couple of examples of how I've been able to leverage and how that has been to my good. There's the flip side, like Maanda said, but again, story for another day. But yes, that's it.
Great.
So can I jump in for 2 seconds?
Yes,
just
Maanda.
to reiterate this thing about communicating where you are. So I'm busy. I got this big project. I'm staffing the project, and I'm looking for someone with specific experience. And this lady I've worked with in the past, she sends me this message saying, "Hey, just letting you know that I left that company. I'm available for opportunities. I'm like, how did you know? Literally, I sent her a text and say, okay, you are hired. We're starting next week. I don't have time to talk about it now, but can we just hold there? Don't send this message to anyone else. So I saw there was a question in the chat which says, can you like sort of abuse your network? Something like that might felt like, when I'm sending those messages, I'm abusing my network somewhat, I'm bothering them. But if you're good and you're known for good delivery, it's sometimes a big relief. I was so happy. I'm like, she's available. I text so quickly. I was in a meeting. I shouldn't have done that. But if you're good and you update people where you are, it's not abusing. It might be actually adding value to them.
Absolutely. Before I want to hear from Kanye, but there's also this context that I found is even within your network, there's certain value adding people in your network that that you could reach out to. And then there are people in your network that may not necessarily add value to you. And for me, how I distinguish between the two is, how did that relationship start? Did it start on a professional manner where this person actually knows my work, my work quality, my work ethic, and that they'll be able to refer me or think about me when they come across those opportunities? Or is this the kind of person that the friendship started or the relationship started and it wasn't on that professional footing? So that's how I've also seen on when I went through my WhatsApp, and I'm trying to say, okay, and that's why I said it's mutually beneficial. But when you're being deliberate about growing your career or growing your business, your network really depends on that professional footing. How did the relationship start? And is this someone that when an opportunity comes, I think of them, or do they think of you? So that's how you also need to position yourself when you're asking for the opportunity, for example. So Maanda, if I call you and I say, oh, Maanda, can we collaborate on a project? It's because maybe we've met on a professional level, and then maybe he knows my work. He can cross-reference, call a few people that know us, know me, and then that's how we build that rapport and that relationship. So that's just a tip I wanted to give. Kanye, any thoughts before we jump into Q&A?
Yeah, a few things just jumped out at me as everyone was talking around, firstly, good versus bad networks. People are going to be growing or taking away from your career or your business or the opportunities that come about. Guys, the reality is, if you don't have a network to start off with, and it can start at anywhere in your life, actually, I don't think there's a starting point or an ending point of how to build and cultivate a network. I think that the thing to probably focus your efforts and energy on is, how do I think about the people I know in a way that it's going to help me as I navigate? Right? You may not even know how to navigate. It's fine. The point is, where you are is not where you want to end up, and you need to go somewhere else. And a lot of us do this by watching people in our communities, watching the neighbors, or watching the friend's brother, or watching the whoever you're watching, and learning something from them, and asking questions, and growing in that manner, that people are going to naturally, instinctively want to connect you. Of course, there'll be people who aren't really vested in your future, and that's okay. You with time discern. I personally only do business with people I like, and I've learned that the hard way. you know, having interacted in very many ways and learned a lot of things that weren't necessarily helpful for me from a growth perspective. But coaching is part of the reason I'm where I am today, right? Is because I've learned that there are things that are going to be good for me, there are things that are going to be bad for me, and you know, some of my lessons are hard, but my wisdom doesn't have to be in vain. Sorry, my pain doesn't have to be in vain in generating wisdom for others. So in the same way you want to receive from your network, you should be, and I'm echoing what everyone else has said, you should be willing to give to your network. And I think those are the best kind of relationship. The universe rewards those that are putting goodness out there. And then the badness must sort itself out. Yeah, it will figure itself out in the long run, and you'll grow through the process. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with seeing a network for what it's worth. And by that, I mean, sometimes it's about the next step. And what does that next step look like? And if it means you have to engage with people that you wouldn't ordinarily like, it's worth being a big girl about it and prioritizing what success looks like, right? But when you realize and recognize it as being toxic, I would say cut your losses and move on and find the next relationship that you can cultivate. Like I said earlier, 6 degrees, guys. You're always 6 people away from whoever it is you need to know. And it doesn't have to be the same 6 people. So you can never, for me, you can never call me up enough times. I don't look at my phone and go, ugh, that person's calling again. What do they want? Because 9 times out of 10, we're talking to each other. And even if I talk to you once a year, I know it's going to be an hour of the best hour of my time, and we're going to help each other in some form or another.
Absolutely.
And I found that my best networks are through that. Cultivate those relationships.
So I will now go to Q&A in the last few segments of the series. The first question is for you, Maanda. It says you're a sports enthusiast. Does that include golf?
A lot of golf. I play a lot of golf now. My son is 6, so we try to do that Sunday late afternoon. It's becoming a good bonding session with my home network.
Oh, lovely. And have you managed to strike some deals on the golf course? Have you built some networks there?
I've built large networks. I started playing golf when I was young. I don't know. I was probably in that engineering space before transitioning, and that was learning. It was brutal. It was hard and all of that. I'm probably like, I don't know how many years now, but the number of people I have met, the number of opportunities that have come up, the quality of coaching that I've received, it's immeasurable. The flip side is that I see some people come to the golf course, first round of golf, they can't even play golf. They already say, yeah, let's talk business. Oh, you read the book or whatever, or someone sold you some Kool-Aid.
They are focused.
No, but that's not how it works. You play golf to build relationships, and in relationships, business comes. So people think that you just go there and do that. So I mean, there was this when I was young. The thing that really made me keep going. I witnessed this transaction happen. There's a guy. He's got a massive printing business. He's running out of cash. And there's a guy I was playing with. He runs a private equity firm. And then we are talking through one of the halls. He's like, yes, I'm looking for funding. You know, I'm growing. I'm stranded. This guy says, no, it's a good problem to have. I think we can help you out. The following week, because I'm a member then, the guys are finalizing the transaction, and the rest, obviously, as they say, it's history. There's just way too many opportunities for me to count that have come from that channel. I was also I was interested in this conversation of knowing people personally and then professionally and vice versa. So one of our legal counsel for my business, I met her through the Ironman training group. So we all were cycling. Then we're like, yeah, so what do you do? No, I'm a management consultant. This is what I do. She said, oh, I run a legal firm. This is what I do. And then one day I need big contract, call up. hey, I need someone to write this thing. Turns out she's excellent at that. And now she's our legal counsel. It's just countless the number of things I can talk about in that regard. Can I answer one more question?
Sure,
there's a note there that says, "Is networking overrated?" And
answer that for us.
Without a network. So my answer, it really is, and my assistant says I like to speak in books. So there's an incredible book called The Power of the Other by Dr. Henry Cloud. I will really encourage for you to check that out because I'm looking at the time. Let me pause there.
Can you post it in the chat so that the people can get it, the power of the other?
Yeah.
Thanks for that. And then there's a question here that says, the challenge that I have around networking is you start owing people things. How does one manage that?
Let me take a stab at it.
Okay.
So I think we all alluded to it. Networking works both ways, right? It's not just solving for the self. It has to be symbiotic. It must be mutually beneficial. And if the intention is for you to add value to people's lives, help build their dreams, in all likelihood, they will see value in you because you're adding value to them. So this notion of it becomes a tit for tat, or I owe you now because you did me a favor, that for me sounds like colluding, or it sounds for me like some sort of unhealthy dynamic. So if your network expects things from you, I would suspect you're not in the right network. That is just instinctively the first thing I'd say to you. I don't do what I do because people owe me something. I think it's more of a, oh, actually, I didn't think of that. That could help whoever, because we've had a conversation and you've told me about it. So I think actually this is a great person for you to meet. And I do that all the time, by the way. And I've seen you guys do the same. So I think it's mutually beneficial, one. Two, guys, we're in the digital era. There's WhatsApp groups, there's LinkedIn groups, there's all sorts of groups. Invest, show up, engage.
Shola, before we close, I just want to ask, how does one effectively come out of their comfort zone, people who are shy and lack confidence? What advice can you give them for them to network effectively?
So that question relates to what someone said about not liking networking, because you're thinking about it from a place where you're having to do idle chit chat. But I think our advice is going in and being your authentic self. As in, I have it. That's what came to mind just coming into this session. Is that authenticity and how that helps you connect. So you're shy or you are, or whatever the impediment might be, but you have your strengths. So you know your strengths and you find a way to connect with people. It's soccer. It's either you're talking about soccer or just when people introduce themselves, pick one thing and it builds on from there. So some people don't know how to walk the whole room. I don't like all the, connecting over and over, but, start small. So pick a little corner and have a solid conversation with one person. And if you can connect with one person in a full room, you have done well. So whether you're shy or whatever that issue is, understand what your strength is, and then find that person you can connect with on that basis. And that what will help you get to that is being knowledgeable about things. So you don't want to go somewhere where they're talking about all the different topics and you have you don't find one thing to help you that can help you get your voice into the conversation, or can just even give someone an insight into what your worldview is. So it's important to be a bit well-read, and it helps you gain that confidence, even if it's just that one person, one-on-one. You've done well in a networking session. But yes, basically I see that we are running out of time. But yes, basically.
So what I got out from what you said was actually just to try and build confidence, maybe read a bit more, just so that you're more well-versed in certain topics, so that when you're talking to people, you've got that confidence to just hold a conversation down. So
Yeah.
thanks for that. And you also said start small. Don't, if you're not the kind of person to work the room, start with just talking to somebody. So just to close, guys, I hope you've gotten enough insight on how to be strategic, to grow your network, how to leverage them, and how to build those relationships. I think building of relationships that are mutually beneficial, adding value, it could be anywhere, whether you're doing Ironman, whether you're at church, whether you're going through your WhatsApp group. That's how we've managed to connect and build network. But before we close, I'd just like to hear from everyone. I'd like to start with you, Kanye. Is what 3 or 2 tips can you give our attendees out there on effective networking and maybe the next steps that they need to do tomorrow in order to help them start networking if they are not already?
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I'm a big believer in clarity. So I think we all need to know what we're about. If we don't know, let's figure it out together. I'm a coach, so you can hit me up and we can help you figure that out. Yeah. But have clarity about why are you here? What are you doing? What makes you feel good? What is your highest point of contribution, to be honest? And once you know what that is, it makes it easier to start navigating and building a journey for where you need to go. And it can start at any point. It can start at varsity, it can start at school, it can start when you have your first job. I think the clarity is the most important part. And if you don't know, finding out is important. The second thing is you can network anywhere. Yes. With all the platforms that are available, it can be beyond just in person, and you don't have to be physically working in a room and making small talk. So find the things that you have common interests with people about and start a conversation. As hard as it may be, it gets easier with time. And I think you alluded to that, Toa. And then the last thing I think is don't be shy to talk about what it is you're up to. People are going to have opinions anyway. So take the time, be interested, be interesting, as Maanda said. I've learned something new. And go out there and just show up.
Awesome. Maanda.
Excellent. So the first one will be to value connections. If you don't value any of this stuff, none of what we talk about really is going to matter. If you don't want it, the rest of the stuff we do is just going to be work, and that's going to be a problem. So I hope we've sort of changed your mind to attach some value to having a transformational in relational connections. So that's the valuing part. The second thing, which is a decision-making thing. The second thing is perhaps give yourself a challenge, which says, I will deliberately, intentionally connect with 2 individuals per week. Then you've got the challenge there. Then the third step I would suggest is to figure out those 2 individuals and be as interested in them as you possibly could. Figure out more and various creative ways to get in touch with them. The good old send them a message on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or all of those things might not necessarily be the right path to them. I get lots of these, hey, can you mentor me? And I'm just like, who are you? And what's going on? So like, there's Maanda. Let's say you want to connect with me. What are 2 or 3 different ways I could lend him most effectively? And be creative. And the fourth one is just go for it. I was going to recommend a book, but then I thought, let me stop there.
No, please do.
There's an incredible book. It's written so beautifully in a storytelling manner. It's called Rejection Proof Yourself. I'll just, if you could do this social experiment that the guy talks about, obviously you applied for this one. I think it'll be great. So yeah, I guess I can never not recommend a book. So the last thing is to go find a book like Rejection Proof Yourself. and challenge yourself to do things you thought you could never do. You'll be surprised what people do in return.
Awesome. On my side, I would just say, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask. If there's an opportunity that you've identified and you know that there's someone that can help you with it, reach out to them, and don't be afraid of the rejection. I think maybe that's one big thing as humans, we are afraid of rejection. So maybe that would be the first step, is maybe reading that book that Maanda recommended to try and help us overcome the fear of rejection. But really put yourself out there and start building valuable relationships that you can add value to. I think most of the time we think of want, but what can we give? So in that giving, we build the relationships, and that's how the opportunities come out. So for me, maybe the one word I would like you to take is rapport. Build a rapport with people, mutually beneficial relationships. And then Shola, please just wrap us up and take us home tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you were going to call me after Maanda. I was going to say, let's close this, because he's pointed everything out. but yeah, so it's, for me, it's a combination of all of those things. And I think networking is like a plant. People that have plants at home, that's what you have to nurturing it, watering it, pruning it, removing the ones that are bad. So that whole process of the same way. And I don't know how you stay connected with your plant, but that's staying connected. But I think in that question where it says good or bad network, isn't that judging somebody? Just to wrap it up, you have to understand, while you're being intentional about what you want from the network that you have, where someone is not adding value to you, where it's a give and take thing. That's how I see networking. I want to be able to add value to people so that when I need, eventually I'm able to, I've built that goodwill that I'm comfortable enough to reach out to. So where I'm not able to reach out to you, or you're not ever able to come through at some point, that's not a great network. And it's not judging. It's just you're intentional about what you want, and you see exactly what adds value to you and what doesn't add value to you. I don't consider it judging. And yeah, so stay authentic to yourself and find that common denominator at every point, and let people see value in you. Be that person that they're able to vouch for at every point in time. That's the kind of network everybody wants.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for spending the time with us and learning more about networking. Maanda, thank you so very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And if I'm sliding in your DM, please, I'm networking, okay? So, but thank you so much for coming on to our show. Guys, you can find us again next month, first Wednesday of April, same time. See you there. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.